Okay, Mike. So you went, you had this special tribunal put together by Governor John Kitzhaber, and that was basically, it's illegal as far as I can see. I don't see where there's
It was illegal.
yeah, no legality to it whatsoever. And Miss Carolyn D. Walker, who was a lawyer for Stoll Reeves, wrote up the final decision on that. So here you are. You win in your hearing, and next thing you know, it's being overturned by this illegal group of people that have been put together. And so, and maybe you can talk a little bit more about this too, because there was money that was given.
Yeah, it was $40,000. It went to Kitzhaber. I found out about that. This was, I want to say it was in May of 2014. Could have been April. It was April, May 2014 where I found out that they had given money to Kitzhaber. That was from a coworker.
And how do they know that?
They were, I don't want to say their name because they're still there, but they actually had access to the database and gave it to me.
Okay, yeah, we don't need names. Yeah.
I actually had the record. So I know it was given in two different chunks of money, and it also went to another individual that I reported to the federal government, and I'm waiting for the feds to do something about it. And if they ever do, the other individual needs to go to prison, and I'm hoping they do.
Are you able to say anything or no?
No, it's just somebody involved in the tribunal.
Okay.
Put it that way, it was one of the people.
Okay.
So
one of those 6 or 7 people that were 8 people that were involved with this. Yeah.
yeah, there was only 2. So.
Oh, you're talking about on the tribunal itself.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, not the people that helped formulate it, but the people that actually were involved.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see what happens with that. That'll be interesting.
Well, we'll see if there's any justice at all in this country. If they'll come in. I mean, it's tax evasion for one thing, so they can always nail them for that. But we'll see if they do anything at all. It's $5,000. At any rate, what happened is that decision. I've been informed of that it was Walker that did it, but when I went, at the time I had appealed that decision to the Oregon Court of Appeals, and the Oregon Court of Appeals, the record needed to be assembled from the tribunal. Well, the person that was assembling the record was Carolyn D. Walker, which was the final piece that I needed. She was the one that had all the records, the decision, everything. This board that had been formed by Kitzhaber did not have any records at all. The whole thing was a put-up job by them. And so I went to the.
So you're saying that they did this tribunal with no records whatsoever, and then Miss Walker wrote the final decision, and she included records with that she had from Stoll Reeves, you think?
Yeah, I don't know who. I don't want to say because I don't know who invented. Somebody invented that document, that email. There's been a lot of invented documents in this thing.
What email is that?
There's a chain of emails between Amanda Cobb and I that were dated for November, I believe it's 18th. I can give you the actual date of 2012.
So did you get a copy of this final decision that came about from this secret tribunal?
Yep.
They gave it to you.
They gave it to me.
And does it have Carolyn D. Walker's name on it?
Yep, it does indeed.
Very good, very good.
And the thing that really kind of bothered me about it was, it was November 19th. That's the 2-day I was. If you look at my records, I'm actually at 2 different doctor's offices, and I've got the dates of the appointments and everything, the times of the appointments on it. And so it's really, really, really interesting. And then I've got down here the day after that, I'm at the, I noted in here about the hard lump in the throat being found on November 9th of 2012, going to Dr. Beckstrand's office, getting referred to the ear, nose, and throat doctor, whatever he's called. I got it at any rate. and I've got my common ears. I feel like I am crumbling away. I'm partially blind, with blood in ears, mass found in the lung. I'm really depressed. This is 2012, August 19th. I just had kept the diary of this stuff, and it's all sitting here. November 20th, I'm actually back at work, and it said, in spite of asking if it was okay, weeks earlier, Cobb rejects the gifts that I had brought to her and to the other group because something is wrong now with my throat. And then I'm depressed, and then there's another new event, and I don't know what that is. It's another doctor's appointment. November 23rd is the day where I broke my right foot. And I had to quit Taekwondo, which I had done as exercise. I'm still depressed, and that goes on. I got Corgenic saying, intruding, and this is on December 4th, demands to go to a psychologist that she picks out, and she wants access to the records because I'm depressed. And I tell her that. She actually gets a letter from my doctor saying, you need to grant accommodations to this guy because they found a mass in his lung, and he needs to be allowed to take some time off from work because she wouldn't permit it. Gorgenic wouldn't. She's trying to get me to quit, which is the reason for the continual harassment. I have to step back again. Go back the month before this on October 3rd, at a staff meeting, I say, and there was 35 witnesses, and Analytics Medical Network and IT had a staff meeting over HIPAA, and I stood up and expressed concern over the dashboard misuse. The dashboard is what they use for patient profiling, and threatened with filing by Kajoric. She removed me from IT and has me directly report to her and then to Cobb. I got that noted down in things. And then there's the following week on the 10th, on that Wednesday, there's a meeting with the rod building flight tying class that I had in my home every week. And Dr. Sottenspiel, incidentally, was a regular student of that. We can get into that tomorrow. But what's really interesting is Sottenspiel would talk with, there's a bunch of teachers from Harrisburg High School, and a couple of neighbors that were attending this group, and I taught fly tying and bamboo fly rod making. And the Sodspiel would talk about the Agate's sale of these patient records.
We'll put the microphone a little closer to you.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So I brought that up on purpose because I wanted people to realize that this has been going on since 2008. These fly tying meetings, and Dr. Sottenspiel became friends with these men, and so when I would talk about the sale of employee records to and their dependents to employers and to banks, etc., that was a common piece of conversation. And Sottenspiel trusted these guys, and we talked about it openly. When I talked about the profiling stuff, Sottenspiel said that was okay with him because it was, what was the word he used? Starts with an A. I keep thinking arbitrage, whatever it was. But at any rate, he was saying that we had a limited number of dollars for health care, and that what he was going to do was they were this committee that he was on, and was mainly the only doctor on it. It was mostly Agate executives who were bean counters, and they're cutting costs because they were saving the dollars for the sickest patients rather than or the most troubled patients, rather than just spending it a ton of money on somebody one individual who is really sick. So when people talk about death panels, it wasn't really a death panel, it was an economic panel. What Sachspiel didn't realize is at the same time I was doing this, Copeland had tasked me with keeping the shareholder table. So I knew all about the where this excess money that was being saved went. The money they saved by not spending it on patients flowed into bonuses that went to, and stock options that went to insiders, doctors, and executives. They got filthy rich and patients were denied medical care. Sachspiel was basically justifying it as we were saving scarce medical dollars for certain patients and not for others.
But he knew. He knew.
He was playing God. They were all playing God. They were denying care. And what's really pathetic about this, and I really want to stress this over and over and over, is that the people least likely to complain, which tended to be the poor, minorities, especially Hispanics, blacks, foster kids, seniors, those are the people that were the most likely to be denied care.
Yeah.
That's the people they hit.
They targeted him.
And they targeted them because they weren't going to file class action suits. They weren't going to cause problems.
They're too poor.
And the thing about it is that doctors knew that. A doctor actually quoted in the Eugene Register Guard about that. He says virtually the same thing that I'm telling you right now, and I reported this to Governor Brown clear back in 2012, what was going on. And he's saying these are the people that are the most helpless, that we're supposed to be serving and we're not serving. They're screwing them. That's a quote from a doctor.
Was this the same doctor who was in that article, the Register Guard article, where he was talking about the stocks?
No.
Okay.
It's awful.
Yeah.
I'll get it because it's worth reading. It's something that people really, they need to RG. There you go. Okay, here's the doctor's quote. He says, "You might expect this kind of behavior from business people, Pape and Tory, but not from doctors who gave an oath to first do no harm," said a local neuropsychiatrist who asked not to be named because he receives referrals from area doctors and relies on some of Agate's doctor shareholders for his own medical care. Most of Agate's 218 shareholders were local doctors. The neuropsychiatrist described the profit taking as an example of the powerful taking advantage of the powerless. If you're going to screw over a population and not have any consequences, Oregon Health Care Plan patients are the perfect population, he says. They have no power. This is not a group that is going to hire an attorney and file a class action suit. The only way Trillium makes money is deny patients of the very care we're supposed to give.
Well said.
Better than I can say it. But
He's
what's
spot
going
on. He's spot on.
And it's like, this has been going on for years, and people ignore it. And it's not just me that's been reporting it.
Yeah.
I'm the one that got, my life destroyed because
Well, you said other whistleblowers got their lives destroyed too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Dean Harris got his destroyed. Garrett's been totaled. Miles, his life was wiped out. It's like we've all paid almost the ultimate price. It's like my health has been wrecked. These guys have never seen a job again in engineering. I mean, Trillium screwed us good.
And how do they do that? Is it by recommendations for a new job?
It's worse than that. I applied for a job at Bi-Mart fixing cash registers because I couldn't find anything else. Okay? And Nanette Woods called the head of human resources for the Bi-Mart Corporation when she found out I was applying for it because I'd asked for a letter of reference from another employee. And she said, don't hire him, he's a sexual predator. Swear to
Wow.
God that's true.
Did they tell you this?
Yes.
They said, we're not going to hire you because you're a sexual predator?
They said they weren't going to hire me. I was told that by the comment by a woman that worked in the office with this, the head of human resources for Bimart Corporation. This is a lousy job fixing cash registers. I had done this when I was a kid, fixed their cash registers. I knew how to program their micros cash registers. I knew them backwards and forwards. I'm a double E. I'm not merely a software engineer, so I know this stuff like you wouldn't believe. Right now, I'm working on some medical instrumentation stuff.
Well, let's not go into that too much.
But it's like, I know what I'm doing with the electronics. Fixing cash registers would be a way of putting money in my pocket, putting food on the table. I survive on virtually nothing. I don't have enough money to afford the medications I require to stay alive.
Why do you think no one's taken some type of violent retribution towards these people?
I don't think people know about them. I think if people actually knew what Copeland had done, I think they'd burn his house down.
Oh, well. I don't want to start a fire by this, but so be it.
No, I mean, these people are... I've said this to other people, and I don't want it to sound hysterical, but the most evil human being I have ever known in my life was Patrice Korjenik. Looking at her is like looking in the face of Satan. She is evil. These people would do anything for money. That's all they're interested in. They have no soul at all. They don't believe in God. They belittled me for believing in God. They belittled me. I was called a Boy Scout. I was called old, too old, old-fashioned, a Mormon boy. I'm not a Mormon. And things like that. I mean, I relate, all this stuff has gone to Boley over the years. They know all of these quotes. If Wolf had called the witnesses, because I gave him a list of witnesses of people who heard these comments at work that would have told him, if he called them and they were written down, they're long gone now. And all that's happened ever since then is Stroh Reeves has just stalled and stalled and stalled, and the courts have let them stall for years. I had a discovery conference that I had actually had filed for discovery back in 2015 in this federal case. And what happened was they ended up getting this Sandra K. Hilton woman from the Oregon Audit Division to request records. I mean, these were actually records from Thomas Wiest of fraud. I mean, it was systematic fraud. And I pointed it out that this is systematic fraud and showed them exactly how it worked, showed them the actual records, and what happened was Boley got them back in 2014. All of a sudden, you've got Stroh Reeves requesting them via Sandra K. Hilton on August 13th of 2015, asking for these same records and other records about double billing. And we can go into those if you want to, more and more and more, because I've got other ones from people that were working at sidewalk urgent care clinics, were also at the exact same moment happened to be working in the hospital as doctors, seeing the same patient for the exact same procedure on the same day.
Well, let's get back into that linear timeline of you. Now you've lost. They've taken away your decision at the hearing level for the administrative law judge. Now you're moving into the federal courts at this time, correct?
Nope. At that point in time, I filed with the Oregon Court of Appeals. I figured that this thing was lawless, and that, believe it or not, I trusted the system back then. I trusted Oregon. So I filed with the Oregon Court of Appeals. And I had, about that time, it was May, I believe it was 21st or something, 20th, I got a package from Microsoft where Wolf's intervention with Microsoft got me all of the IP records. And so I could figure out by looking at them. They showed the dates of hacking, who was hacking me, and the dates, my email and cloud account. And it was Trillium. I mean, they were so self-assured that they'd never get caught. They were hacking my email from work. They were using their own IP address. And then
To hack your home? To hack your home email?
Yeah, my
Okay.
home email.
Your personal email.
On personal email. And not only that, on September 20th, 2013, across the street from Stroh Reeves in Seattle, there's a hack. And that was captured on videotape. When I let it know to the court that it was on videotape, and I would have wanted that preserved or at least gotten so that I could have it available, because it would showed supposedly Stroh Reeves attorneys there with Corgenic and some people from Trillium meeting at a Wi-Fi hotspot across the street from Stroh Reeves' Seattle office, hacking into my computer from their computer. And you've got all kinds of problems. I mean, that's like disbarment of attorneys, internet fraud. I filed a formal complaint with the FBI on that one too, and I've got that complaint number. The court blocked being able to get that it's a subpoena for that. Stroh Reeves objected to that, and the court went right along with them.
This was the appeals court?
No, this was the federal court.
Okay, but we're at the appeals level.
The appeals court, the appeals court wasn't going to ever grant anything at all. What I did with the appeals court is I said, look, I'm a whistleblower. This is why I did it. I sent them records to the court of the records that they had sold for Monaco Coach Corporation employees and all of their dependents. And they were intercepted by the Oregon Department of Justice. They never got to the court. Rosenblum's office, and I've got the names of the people involved too, intercepted that package of documents and took it. I finally wrote, when I found out about it, wrote to the court. They waited until after the period of time was ended for filing things and said, oh, we misfiled it. They intercepted it. If you send something to the Oregon Court of Appeals, they happen to be next door to the Oregon Department of Justice, and they, I guess, share the same mail room. They intercept mail. So if you send evidence to the Oregon Court of Appeals, in my case at least, the Oregon Department of Justice intercepted my package. And
Wow.
I've got the emails showing it. Yeah. It's like, it's crazy.
So
then,
so go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, then I finally did get it to the Oregon Court of Appeals, and they had justice, whatever it was. It was around that time when I started getting worse and worse and worse. I'd had that surgery in March on the right foot. The left foot was still not doing well. On the right foot, it developed an infection because I did it as an outpatient. I went and found Michael Vergamini, an attorney, and he was going to do it over. Well, when he intervened, Trillium left the case, and so did Oregon. And the Oregon Court of Appeals let that board thing stand. And he couldn't believe it. He couldn't figure out why. It's like, that's unheard of.
What board thing?
This illegal two-person board.
Oh, that tribunal, yes, the illegal
tribunal. This
tribunal.
tribunal thing stand, even though it was obvious that it was faked. It was obvious that I was a whistleblower, and they had dropped out of the case. Supposedly, the employment board and supposedly Trillium had both dropped out of it. The only people there was the Oregon Department of Justice, and they weren't doing anything, and the appeals court, and they let this decision stand.
The appeals court let the decision stand.
Yeah, it makes no sense at all.
Did you ever sue John Kitzhaber?
No. I should have, but I had no way of doing it. He would have claimed sovereign immunity.
Well, he's not sovereign immunity anymore. I don't know if you can claim it now for misdeeds he did in the past.
Oh, it doesn't.
He was found to be a criminal.
They'll get something like this, and he'll maybe go, oh, well, he's defaming me, and come after me, in which case all of the records come out. I mean, I'm more than willing to rip these people's heads off. I don't care anymore. I'm dying. I don't care. And I'm going to make them stop. They are not going to continue to hurt people. No more ruined whistleblowers. No more dead children. No more destroyed seniors. This stuff ends. I want this over.
Excellent.
And so, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And Aiken, who has done this gag order thing on this thing, can throw me in prison. And I want you and everybody else to realize that I have copies of this stuff, of every piece of evidence, including the stuff that their appointed attorneys stole. And I will turn it over. I'll make it public. I'll be sitting behind bars, and I will make darn sure it's public. This is not going to stand.
It'll be made public.
If I'm thrown in jail, that'll happen. I want this thing over. I want justice. I didn't do anything wrong. I was a whistleblower because people were getting hurt. Why on earth is this corrupt federal judge punishing me? And not only did she do the thing with Russo, that appointment, she appointed another judge that was also buddies with the department.
Let's wait on that. Let's get to the next.
Well, they both got objected to.
I know
she
the next
violated
leg of
Rule 73. She violated the federal rules of civil procedure.
Right. Well, let's get to that. We're going to get to that.
And then it's gone to it's now sitting in front of the Ninth Circuit Court. You want to know what's happening at the Ninth Circuit Court? I had surgery.
But let's get to that.
Heart, and Stroh Reeves, while I was in surgery, filed 700 pages.
Yeah, and I want to get to that, but I want to keep this somewhat linear if we can. So, the appeals court sided with the secret illegal tribunal.
Yep.
So, what did you do next at that point?
I filed with the Oregon Supreme Court. Went to the Oregon Supreme Court. Oregon Supreme Court declined to hear it in the end.
How long did that take?
Oh, a long time.
A year? Year and a half?
Yeah, about that.
Typical.
I can tell you, I've got all the paperwork on it. I've got the Oregon.
Typical Oregon court system. I mean, they drag it on forever to bleed you. I mean, they're all in cahoots together. No decisions are made promptly.
This is the Oregon Supreme Court, and this is March 30th, 2016. So this was going on well into 2016. And mind you, one of the things I was doing is that when I was sending, if you look at the certificate of service, I sent copies of all of this stuff to the Oregon Attorney General, Oregon Employment Department, Carolyn Walker, Vergamini, and to actually the U.S. Department of Labor. So it's like the Solicitor General of the U.S. Department of Labor had all of this stuff. They've got no reason to not know about everything. I've sent them evidence from, since day one about all of this one.
So the Oregon Supreme Court decided that they would not hear this case. So what happened next?
I filed it with the U.S. Supreme Court. I wrote a writ of certiorari, did so pro se. That went to them. They made me correct it and everything. And then in the end, they would not accept it without payment. I was trying to do this because I didn't have any money. And I got given the money for the court filing fee and gave it, sent that off to the U.S. Supreme Court because they thought it was worthwhile, that a friend did, to be heard. And the U.S. Supreme Court then turned it down after they got their money. And it was like, and I pointed...
The U.S. Supreme Court?
U.S. Supreme Court. And
was that before you even went to the district court?
Let's see, what was the date? I think I was in the district court when I was at the U.S. Supreme Court. Let me look. U.S. Supreme Court was September 26, 2016. Yes, I was in the district court at that time.
Okay. So
And
you went to
can
the
read
district
this.
court.
I quoted the fact that this was a lawless tribunal. I talked in this filing about Carolyn Walker writing the decision, and I said that under the rules they are operating under, that was completely legal because they had no rules that they had. They could do anything they wanted.
She's not a judge. She should be writing any decisions, let alone the fact that it wasn't even a.
Perfectly legal. That was the way they've got this thing set up.
Well, maybe perfectly legal in the little world of Oregon, kind of like the little world of Chop or Chaz up in
Then how is
Seattle.
it,
But that's not the
it's
world.
Evidently completely legal with the U.S. Supreme Court because the U.S. Supreme Court could have thrown this out, and they didn't. I mean, I've got the court decision right here.
Yeah.
And like I say, there's nothing that I have talked about that I'm not willing to make public.
Yeah. So you went to the federal court, and when you went to the federal district court in Eugene, again we've already talked about the FRCP, the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure number 73, where you had filed you didn't want Jolie Russo or Michael McShane, I think is his name, isn't it?
No, the McShane was, that was a side issue. What happened was when I went to file against the bully in the state of Oregon for the fraudulent documents, I was asked, I'd actually met with two investigators from CMS, and one was named Bob Olbeck and the other was named Kim Bew. And Mr. Olbeck was trying to get this because I'd given them evidence, and he looked at it and went, "Oh wow!" He couldn't get any traction with his superiors. That's been again. I want to go back and emphasize that this has been a political hot potato, and nobody wants to touch it. But tough.
Why do you think it makes it such a political hot potato?
I don't know, and I don't care. It's a political hot potato because it impacts people's careers. It's like if they stick to the law, Oregon's contract with the EEOC and with OSHA would be canceled tomorrow. Oregon would no longer be allowed to take whistleblower or civil rights complaints at all, federal ones. They would have to go to the EEOC and to OSHA.
That's the way it should be then. It's the way it should have been in the first place.
Yes, I agree, because Oregon's very corrupt. But what would be the ramifications of that? You'd suddenly have the first time a state plan state is no longer a state plan state. You'd have the problem of state corruption and probably having to prosecute certain state officials, and it's like you're looking at Aveckian, at least Brad Aveckian, and then you're looking at Brown. You're definitely looking at Miss Rosenblum. You're definitely looking at Lynn Saxton. You're definitely looking at several people, the names of which I've got are sitting here in the employment department that are high-level officials there, including the now new present head of the employment department, who used to be head of unemployment. I mean, it's like there's a lot of people that would be in a ton of trouble for criminal activity. Plus, on top of that, what I read you about Section 802 of Sarbanes-Oxley, and I pointed out the fact that there's nothing in that precludes charging the state with those violations. It's a $20 million fine and 20 years in prison for every violation by any individual. Provably, you've got the state of Oregon altering documents in my case, misfiling documents, and harming me as a whistleblower for simply whistleblowing. Can you imagine the kind of ramifications that's going to have in an election year? Can you imagine what's going to happen with, say, Merkley?
But still,
If that all comes out, or with Wyden, if that all comes out, it's like these people have done, and it again, I want to make sure that everybody realizes it's not just Democrats. The reason is there's more Democrats is because there's more of them.
Here.
And that's it. If there were more Republicans, I believe they would be the ones that would be involved in this. It's the money is the mother's milk of politics, and it feeds corruption. And
I guess what comes to my mind is that the reason why they wouldn't is because this is so widespread and so deep and reaches so high to the top that it wouldn't just collapse Oregon. It would probably collapse the entire United States as far as, you know, the healthcare, the way that we're dealing with healthcare, and the people that would be in trouble. I mean, we're talking, as you said yourself. I mean, this is widespread. This is nationwide.
tough.
I know it's tough,
Black
but I'm just saying
lives
that's
matter.
the only thing that can.
Black lives matter.
Yeah.
One of the things about it is they've killed black kids. Native American lives matters. They killed my people. They killed my elders, my children, my mothers. They killed Hispanic kids that were my friends that I grew up with. They killed Asian kids and Asian mothers. They've hurt too many people. And I got to tell you, Black Lives Matter. People don't want to hear it, but it's true.
Well, as
They
you
have
said, it's not just
hurt
black lives;
too
it's
many
all lives that matter.
Yeah.
It's important for we're all being impacted by this.
Burn
the family
the
that's
damn house down.
well,
No more of this stuff. Let's rip this system apart. If it falls apart, it doesn't deserve to stand. What we need to do is reform it or burn it down.
Well, how about the family that's barely making it, paying taxes, and that tax money is going into these rich people's pockets for their bonuses and their stocks, etc.
That's a
So it's a
huge
nationwide problem. Everybody's being impacted by this.
It's a huge problem. And those rich people, when they're doing it at the expense of children and the elderly and the poor, it's wrong.
It's satanic.
Yeah, it is.
It's demonic. There's no other word I can put to it, because, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and argue whether there is or isn't a Satan. I'm just using it as a metaphor.
Oh,
It's
I
demonic.
believe that there is a Satan.
Well,
and
I
that's the
do too,
problem.
but a lot of people may not. But suffice to say is that these people are psychopaths. They have no empathy. They only care about themselves, so that makes them narcissistic in addition. Money is their god. They worship at that altar every single day, to the point where, I mean, come on, Mike. I mean, if you made $1 million, you could live off of that for a long time. These people make that amount of money, in a year.
You want to know something? When people talked about the key tam suit that I filed because Bob Olbeck wanted me to, he asked me to. So I filed that key tam lawsuit. And it sat there. The court appointed an attorney who actually it was really interesting because he was filing documents with my name on them that I hadn't ever seen. It was really peculiar. In fact, he actually forged a document with my name on it again. Again, a real common problem. And I'm wondering how widespread that is. But that is neither here nor there. That happened. If you've got, and then a bunch of the documents seem to ended up flowing to Stroh Reeves. And I don't know all the connections between the Oregon District Court and that sleazy law outfit, but there are some nasty connections that people need to look into.
No doubt, yeah.
But it's a matter that we got to start somewhere, and I think it begins with putting some sunshine on everything that's happened in my case and with these other whistleblowers.
So again, you're in the federal district court at this point in time. You've filed your complaint. You've let it be known that you want an Article 3 judge. Did you ask for that specifically?
No.
Okay. Did you ask for a jury trial?
Yes.
Okay. They try to throw a magistrate judge. Let me say this one.
Judge.
A magistrate judge at you that you knew was crooked. There was another judge that was also involved in your case. And why don't you go through that a little bit? What happened? Because this is a very interesting story.
That's where McShane took over. Actually, Ann Aiken was the judge.
Start with Ann Aiken. Start with the whole thing.
Ann Aiken was the one that got the
beginning.
key tam case. originally.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And she kept, and this is what's really interesting, is that during that time period, there was a really, really, really famous case that extends the, oh, I really need to get the internet on here, but there's a very famous case.
You want internet? We can get internet.
It's consultants, it's the Cochise consultancy case. The U.S. Supreme Court decided it, but at the time it was at the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. And what it said is that the time clock, the filing limit under the False Claims Act, begins when you tell federal investigators, not when you find out about the fraud. And Stroh-Reeves kept arguing to Ann Aiken, and Ann Aiken was arguing with them that I needed to have more recent evidence than 2007. This was back in 2013, and I had to have current evidence. And I said, well, it was collected, let me go get it off my workstations, but they evidently have been destroyed. And she went, no, you have to have evidence right now. And I'm going, that's never been a requirement. And it runs afoul of the Cochise consultancy case. And she then dropped out of the case. It went to Michael McShane. And McShane's court, Riley Keating argued that, and I can read that one to you, it's really interesting. You actually have McShane arguing for Stroh-Reeves, which I thought was just absolutely crazy, and I couldn't believe it, but he did. And it's a transcript from the case, and what happens is Keating says that well, she does a couple of things. She says, first of all, that I don't know anything at all about medical coding, the relator, which is false because I'm an AAPC graduate, American Association of Professional Coders, as well as a DBA. I was actually correcting mistakes that were made by Ingenix in 2012. I was very experienced with medical coding. And then what she's saying here, she says, in that case, the court found it appropriate to dismiss a claim where the relator didn't have the requisite knowledge. She's arguing about another case, the Presser case. The requisite knowledge and experience to support some of the allegations she was making about proprietoriness of some billing, whether some services were medically necessary. So she was saying that I didn't have the expertise to talk about this stuff, which was she knew at the time was false. She knew it was not true. And then what just blows my mind is that you then have McShane. She then argues about the 20680 CPT code, and I'm finding this thing in here because I put this in. I'd emphasized it. Let's go here. Oh, come on. Why can't I find things when I need to? He ends up arguing for them. So it's 22 is the page in here. Basically what he ends up saying is that you can have one or several punctures, and that he's going to that because of that we've misstated what 20680 means, and what I wanted to do was point out to people what the actual law is, and I actually passed this off to that court, and they all ignored it, and that's the thing that really just kind of makes me really angry. 20680 is this per CMS, that's the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services. 20680 describes a unit of service that is reported only once, provided the original injury is located at one site, regardless of the number of screws, plates, rods, or incisions. For example, an example would be for the removal of a single implant system, which may be called a stab, or multiple incisions, i.e. A nail or several locking bolts. Multiple use of 20680 would be appropriate only when hardware removal was performed at another fracture, another location, which means you had to say an artificial elbow and an artificial knee. And what was happening was on Wiest's claims, they were claiming 20680 a dozen times and charging thousands of dollars for this stuff. That's a bunch of odd claims, but that's a perfectly good one. Here he's got 20680 where he's appearing as the assistant surgeon and as the primary surgeon. He actually has this is the one that's really interesting. He has the facility listed as a surgeon. Now, you know as well as I do as a doctor that that's a felony. You can't do that, but they did it on these records.
Right.
And so for each one of these things, they're billing $1,000 for one, $593 for the other ones, and if you look at the physician's fee schedule, the physician's fee schedule from CMS says that basically you can have a total of $290 at a facility. That's it. Period. One time.
Yeah.
And they happen to have in this particular bill that I'm staring at right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, and it is $3, 4, 5, 6, 7, $8,000 for a $290 charge.
Wow.
$8,000, and this is done over and not only that, triple bill for the anesthesia. There's the local anesthesia, and they have a general anesthesia, and it's run 3 times.
Wow.
There's another bill in this series where they have a guy who's a heroin addict who hurt himself, and they give him an injection of methadone, and then they give him a painkiller that would have killed him, would have counteracted with it. What's going on is it was fake. They just put stuff down and billed for it without really understanding the procedure code. And I've got records of that. I pointed that one out to the court. It was sent it to the Ninth Circuit Court. Sent it to Aiken's court too.
So again,
no one cares.
So again, getting back to, you're in federal court. You've approached Ann Aiken. You've told her that you don't want, she's trying to pass you off to a magistrate judge, and you're saying you don't want this magistrate judge, at least Jolie Russo.
I don't want Russo in there either. I would have objected to her, and she knows it. She couldn't legally, after presiding over the Key Tam case, she could not legally have jumped into this case, even though she did in the end. She tried to appoint another judge named Kushabi. Kushabi I objected to in writing, both vociferously. I did not want him anywhere near me. And what happened was, pardon?
Why is that?
He was also another crony of the Oregon Department of Justice people.
I think they all are.
Yeah, well, they are in Oregon. And so I objected to this in writing. I don't have to give a reason. Rule 73 basically says that they cannot appoint a magistrate judge unless they have the consent of all parties.
Right.
Now, the Supreme Court had a very famous court saying that unless you objected in writing, it was assumed that you approved. Well, I objected in writing, and I did so within 10 days of being noticed that they were appointing a judge.
Now, did you do that for Michael McShane too?
No.
No.
McShane, I wasn't even a part of that court case. I mean, that was
really so go into that, because that's important. What happened there?
That was just
go
weird
into this.
case.
Go into the situation with the two lawyers that you had for the three lawyers that you had for the Fee Tam or the Qui Tam case, and then Mary Ann Dugan.
Well, what was really interesting is that the Key Tam case was, I was doing this pro se, and I was more than willing to continue a pro se because I thought I could just simply tell the truth and the court would buy it. Babe in the woods, but
Yeah.
I was doing it. Aiken appointed a pro bono attorney, Jesse London, who jumped in and did a whole bunch of kind of weird filings, and then helped me find some evidence. And he became convinced somewhere along the line. First of all, he was doing some things that I thought were sketchy, like filing documents that were supposedly by me but weren't by me, and that without even telling me about them. And that bothers me to this day. You don't do that, at least around me. And then what happened was he was peddling this case around the state. He went to California, and I went up to Portland and met with California Law. They're a
McDougal and Kafori, yeah.
Yeah, I met with them. There had to have been a dozen attorneys in the room, and
I'm not real impressed with them, to be honest. But go ahead.
Oh, they were really honest. I mean, one of them, Linda Williams, I thought was fantastic. What a
I've
dog.
had interactions with them, and I find them despicable and dirty. But go ahead. I think the Kafori. I personally think the Kafori family is very dirty, but that's another story. Anyways, go ahead.
I think that's what that may be the case with all lawyers now. But at any rate, what I was doing is I had told them what had happened, explained everything, and I told them about the hacking into my email, and I still got those records. And they went, well, this is illegal, and you need. London needs to file this suit because there's a time limit on filing it, and he didn't. He was off peddling this lawsuit again, and he went to, I don't know, a couple of other firms. Finally, he found two lawyers in Eugene. Mind you, this is the pro bono attorney, and that was Lehman and Johnson, Drew Johnson and Alan Lyman. And Lehman, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but at any rate, he gave it to them, or sold it to them, and then he was able to resign as the pro bono attorney and join their team. Also, not something that's done, but he did. And in the meantime, I was doing this other case, and I'd found. Michael Vergamini because of the unemployment case, and I thought, well, this is, this wrongful termination thing seemed to be a pretty strong case. I mean, you got pretty overwhelming evidence that this guy's a whistleblower and that they destroyed records, so it shouldn't be hard to win this thing. So Vergamini had set up discovery conferences, and then Stroh Reeves kept canceling them. This kept going on over and over and over for I filed that suit in June of 2015, and if you fast forward to 2017 is when Dugan comes on the case. I believe it's April of 2017.
Now they insisted, Lehman and Johnson insisted that she be involved.
Yeah, what they did is they said that they were afraid that Vergamini was going to be a wild card and would traipse on their Key Tam case. And so what they wanted to do was hire an attorney that would work on the Key Tam team and they called themselves the Dream Team. I'm serious. This actually, I got the emails. They call themselves the Dream Team. So they were hiring Marianne Dugan. Well, I didn't know Marianne Dugan from Adam. I didn't know a thing about her, but it's like they had me meet with her, and she seemed like a pleasant enough woman, although a bit hippie-like. And she joined the Dream Team. Well, I think that was March. In April, she had a meeting with telephone meeting with Riley Keating, and Riley Keating, she wanted Discovery again, and Riley Keating said, "Yeah, we object to any Discovery until the fall. We want these other cases solved." And Dugan told them, "Fine, great, you can put off Discovery." And I got these emails too, that you can put off Discovery until October, end of October, and because I need to take off and go for a vacation anyways. I'm planning my daughter's wedding back in Minnesota, and I got a case back there I wanted to do on environmental law, and I want to go on a vacation. So she left in early June for Minnesota. And suddenly on June 23rd, after you actually before then, what's the date? There it is. These are emails. Mind you, and this is an interesting thing too, is that Dugan, I fired her in August of 2017 because she was.
But before that, Mike, the case when she was out of town, what happened?
That's what I'm getting to.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that this stuff was all taking place behind my back. I didn't know about any of these communications. She was getting, when she would find documents of mine, she was giving them to Stroh Reeves without telling me.
But you knew she was leaving town, though.
I knew she was leaving town.
Okay.
So what happened was, she was leaving town, and one of the things that that occurred was, and I need to find this one. When she left town, here's the 23rd. On Friday, 6/23, Dugan's out of town. Keating sends an email to Dugan. He says, "Marianne, I just wanted to follow up on my email from below. And on the voicemail that I left for you shortly after I sent this email, are you planning on filing an amended complaint? As you know, the discovery deadline is fast approaching, and we need to get moving on it." Now, they already had an agreement that they were putting off discovery till October 20th, end of October, not 23rd, the end of October.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, Russo admits that she knew this.
Knew what?
That they had this verbal agreement to put
Okay,
off
okay.
off this discovery. Well, so this fictitious email from Riley Keating is fast approaching, and need to get moving on this or seek an extension of the deadline. Please let me know if you would like to call up on this to discuss. And then this is on May 23rd. Marianne, I wanted to follow up on our call from a number of weeks ago. This is the one where she had the agreement to put off discovery. Well, Dugan's gone. She hasn't answered these things. She's out of state.
She doesn't, and she doesn't have a secretary. As I
No
think you said.
secretary. She's
just a private lawyer who takes care of all her own work.
Correct.
Yeah.
Office. And
So the office was closed. We're
it
talking
was shut down.
Nothing.
There's no
going on
email.
there.
There's no phone. There's nothing. So they're making this stuff. Well, what's really interesting is that, so she sends this test email. There's no reply. The following day, she sends an RFP, which is a request for discovery. Sends a medical release form, a psychiatric medical release form, and another RFP and a bunch of other things. There's actually 5 documents on this thing. And this is on 6/29 that Keating files this stuff Stroh Reeves does. Well, Dugan's not there. She didn't answer this. it gets much more interesting than that. Then she said, sends by first-class mail to this vacant office. Dear Ms. Dugan, encloses the defendant's first request for production of documents. Because of the discovery deadline is fast approaching, please return the signed authorizations form to us no later than July 11th, which is the deadline. Dugan doesn't get this stuff. He's not there. They know what they're doing. They're filing to an empty office. And then all of a sudden, here's the RFP. And mind you, Lehman and Johnson are in town. They know that Dugan is a part of their team.
The dream team.
They know my address. They don't send this stuff to anybody but Dugan.
Who didn't send it?
Stroh Reeves.
Okay. They didn't send it to Lehman and Johnson.
Lehman and Johnson don't have a word about this thing.
Oh, so they were in the dark too then.
Everybody was in the dark. In fact, Dugan didn't get back until August 8th. But what's really interesting is then, here's on Friday, 6:30. This is the day after they sent that RFP. You get this frantic, concerned email from Stephen Galloway and Riley Keating. Marianne, I've attempted to reach you multiple times by phone. She tried once. I checked the records. And by email, twice. Over the past several weeks, it was actually within a week's period of time, to discuss the status of Mr. Brooks's employment case. As you know, we have served documents yesterday. No, she didn't. She wasn't there. I cannot locate any record concerning whether Aga's former counsel, Ryan Gibson, and Mr. Brooks' former counsel, Michael Berger, may discuss whether they had agreement to waive disclosure, blah, 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 under Federal Rule 26. Oh, yes, they did. On August 12th, 2015, I had a discovery conference that's on the court record. In fact, you can go look at Pacer, and on the court record on that day, I complained about them misusing that discovery conference and also talk about what they had done. So that's sitting as a part of the court record.
So here they are sending out all this legal material.
They're setting up a fictitious path. What they ended up doing, to make a long story short, and I've got a whole string of these emails, is they make it look like they waited till Dugan's out of town and they knew she was out of town. Then they filed a whole bunch of discovery requests. Well, Dugan doesn't answer any of them. 30 days go by, they file a motion to compel. Dugan pops back and has this motion to compel facing her with this judge, and this gets worse because this judge is having private conversations with Stroh Reeves.
But before that even, there's something that happens, and it involves Michael McShane. Because here you're talking about...
McShane dismissed the Key Tam suit, and I could never figure out why. I mean, I was not a part of it.
So that's the case that he dismissed, was the P. Chem then?
That was the Key Tam case.
P. Tam.
Key
P.
Tam.
Tam. P. Tam, Tom. They pronounce it different ways.
Yeah.
So that was the case that he dismissed. It wasn't. It didn't have anything to do with your unemployment.
Oh, sure it did.
So it was everything then.
What he ended up doing is that part of my case was under the False Claims Act. I was a whistleblower, okay? And what he ended up doing was dismissing the False Claims Act claim that had been filed by Boley. Or actually not filed. It was discussed by Boley and was going to be filed by Boley and had been supposedly filed by Boley back on March 6th of 2014, and McShane dismissed that. He can't, but he did. This is where you have
So he basically dismissed everything then.
Oh, these guys are playing God. What he's doing is stuff that he can't do legally.
And you never had any discovery? You hadn't had any
No.
interrogatories
Nope.
or depositions?
Nope.
Nothing at all?
Nothing at all.
And
Totally denied my rights. And
Okay.
it was being double teamed by Dugan and McShane. And not only that, after this thing with Marianne Dugan, what's really interesting is on Sunday, on August 7th, I told Dugan that she was fired, that I didn't want her having anything to do with this case. And then what happened was, no, September 8th it was. And then what happened was on September 10th, which is a Sunday afternoon, we find Dugan in Lyman and Johnson's office, and supposedly Lyman and Johnson aren't there. They're gone. How she got a key to get into their office, I don't know. In Lyman and Johnson's office, there's a room full of documents and personal possessions of mine, including stuff that I'd preserved for 10 years, original documents like letters from Jeremy Wolf, recordings, even keepsakes from my father when he was dying.
Why were your father's keepsakes there?
My father died on March 4th of 2017, and
Wow.
when he was dying, he was telling me stories. He wanted me to record them and give them to my brothers and sisters, and so they were just wonderful stories of the family, and it was something that meant a great deal to me. And I recorded them, and I had all this stuff stored at Lyman and Johnson because they were afraid that the state was going to do something like they did with other people. Who suddenly there'd be a bunch of state patrolmen showing up my house, busting the doors down, and confiscating my computers and all the evidence, and it would all disappear, and the Key Tam case would be ended because of that. What happened?
Understandable.
Yeah, so they had to just put it in a locked office at Lyman and Johnson's office in downtown Eugene.
And nobody knew, but you and the dream team.
Me and the dream team. That's the
Okay.
only people that knew this stuff was there. Dugan had never seen this stuff. On March 10th,
But she knew it was
March
there.
10th, what is it?
She knew it was there.
September 10th, she went into their office, and that's the thing that really gets me. Well, actually, there's another one we need to get to before then. On August 23rd, one of the things that Dugan gets from them, she tells them, what about the agreement we had to put off this discovery until the end of October? I mean, you can't do this. And this is from Galloway to her, and he says, due to the lack of production, and the court she just got back, and the court stated willingness to hear our motion to compel next week. We are withdrawing the notice of plaintiff's deposition for Monday, August 28th. We reserve all rights to conduct a deposition after that. Well, look, the court hadn't met yet. The court hadn't published the decision yet.
But Russo was involved, right? Judge Russo was involved, and this is
how did Stroh Reeves know what Russo's decision was going to be
a week earlier,
before she made it?
when they were supposed to get together and discuss it, actually, even let alone make it.
It gets worse than that. I have a letter from them talking with the court clerk, and supposedly Russo's gone, and he didn't give it to them. There's only two judges, Aiken and Russo, that would have had access to that decision. Where did Stroh Reeves find out what the decision was going to be a week before it was delivered, find out that the deposition was going to be canceled a week before that happened, and find out that they were going to sanction Dugan for $1,480 finer for missing for not answering the discovery request. So it's like this was a put-up job. Dugan, for whatever reason, was not a very good attorney, but when she ended up telling them that she was going to be out of town, and they filed this put-up job discovery stuff on her, they violated an agreement they had with her, and the court knew it. And the court said, okay, because you didn't keep their discovery deadline, we're going to sanction you. So she got sanctioned $1,480. I can give you the exact amount. It's
Oh,
sitting
that's
here.
okay. Yeah.
The
Close
bill
enough.
was, $1,486. Our records indicate we spent $1,480 in preparing our motion to compel. Please let us know this is agreeable so we can avoid additional fees on a petition. Our deadline to file is next Thursday, so we need to resolve this in a few days in advance of that. And this is on 9/6/2017, and this is from Galloway to Dugan. It gets more interesting than that, because when we do find on the 10th, when you've got Dugan inside of their office on September 10th. I gotta find that one. That's really interesting. They threaten her with additional fines because she says, "Oh, there's a banker's box of documents here," and they go, "Well, we want them." She doesn't have any idea what that banker's box is. It's the key TAM evidence, is what it is, as well as all of my work product, attorney-client emails and everything else. And they say, this is again from Galloway, regarding the additional documents, need to find a way to get them to us in time to review for the deposition. The court treated this portion of our motion as moot based on your representation. It wasn't her representation, it was Galloway's representation, saying we assume that we have all the documents that can be filed. And they're saying, if you have not provided them to us by the end of the day tomorrow, we're going to fine you. A vendor will have no trouble scanning a box of documents and sending the files to us electronically in a day. If we do not get the documents by the close of business tomorrow, we will be forced to take the matter up with the court. This is a Sunday afternoon at 1:44 p.m.
Wow.
So somebody's playing games. I don't think this email's real. I think this sucker was created as cover. I think that Dugan agreed to not pay the fine in exchange. I don't think she paid it. And I think what she did is she sent them the
it only took $1,400 to take her to the ground, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. She's
All
living
I
on a
know-
thin margin, I guess, huh?
All I know is that what she then did is she took all the documents out of there, all of them, and shipped them off to Stroh Reeves or copied them. All of my original documents, I'm talking about all of them, all the stuff that I put in plastic sleeves and stored for 10 years, they disappeared. All the keepsakes from my father disappeared. Everything, my memory sticks that I had for recording, they disappeared.
The stories of your father?
Yeah.
So you lost all those. That's all
All
gone.
of that's gone.
Wow.
Most of the recordings
That's
I
harsh.
had of state employees over the years, gone. Documents that I had referred to where Trillium ends up talking to me about Family and Medical Leave Act filings, disappeared. And suddenly Stroh Reeves go from saying, oh, well, they said Family and Medical Leave Act surgery will give you the time in November, to, oh, that was never stated at all. They changed their story after these documents disappeared. They knew it. This was a put-up job. This was Stroh Reeves engaged in fraud. In a case, and it's like, this should have gotten them sanctioned. You got them violating a verbal agreement. You got them communicating with a judge, an ex parte communication, which is illegal as all get out. You got them blackmailing a judge, because I've got this thing right here where they say we're going to fine you more money if you don't send this stuff to us. I've got that email. I've got all of this stuff. They told me several months before that they had no emails, that Dugan was non-communicative and they didn't have any emails. I'm sitting here looking at 175 emails from them, and that's only about half what they did, because I ended up with some more from the Oregon State Bar that they got from Dugan. And phone records are missing.
Hey, let's talk a little bit more about Dugan, because she was the lawyer for the little girl, Casey Shore, that died of the ulcerative colitis.
That's right. And she also, in that case, I found out, blew that one too. if you read what happened, she ended up answering to the Oregon State Bar because she didn't. She had some filing deadlines and some stuff that she's supposed to do that she missed.
Wow.
And I didn't know that.
A devastated family, devastated by an incompetent and maybe criminal lawyer.
Yeah.
So do you think that any of these lawyers that were working for you as part of the quote dream team, do you think that any of them were up to some type of I guess backdoor dealing with the Stoll
No.
Reeves?
No, I don't think that Johnson and Lyman would. The rest of them, I don't know about London. I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him now, from what I've learned. Dugan, I know, colluded with them. I mean, she folded up.
But she did it because
She
they
was
had her
afraid
kind of under the gun.
fines. She was afraid of fines, and she was also afraid of losing her license. I mean, I'd filed with the Oregon State Bar, who didn't do a thing. I mean, they never do.
They
but
never do. Yeah,
but
they're worthless.
It's like she had broken. So what I did is got a call from one of the attorneys, and he said, because I'd sent volumes of emails and a lengthy document that was probably 70 pages long, explaining what had happened with Dugan, with email trails where I showed where where Lehman and Johnson in London had hired her and foisted her off on me and guaranteed that she was okay, and they were going to watch over her and make sure that she did things correctly. And then all of a sudden, when she goes sideways, they took off out of the picture. I got all of that established. It's like, hey, yeah. And then
They just stepped aside for.
they
just got
actually
what? They got
dumped the whole
cold feet,
case.
or
Once they found out that Dugan had sent them all the key tam evidence, they
figured the
dropped
case was down the toilet, huh?
That's yeah. The phrase is like a turd from a tall horse. It
Okay.
was it was really bad. I mean, they just dropped the whole thing. They wanted nothing to do with it.
Do you think that they were threatened in some way?
I think that they were threatened in the sense that Dugan had done so much wrong that, and I didn't have the money, that a lawyer that was half decent could have filed a lawsuit against Dugan and against them and cleaned their socks. I mean, just taken them to the bank. It would have been horrible because they screwed this up. I told them, where did you find this woman? You know, like, what the heck are you doing with her? It's like, she shouldn't even be on this case. And I've got those emails sitting here.
And this was at the very beginning when she was first hired? Or
No,
this was later on after
this is like
after she stole the records?
after she stole the records and was
your
going
mementos.
crazy. It's like, I see. I mean, this is like, see, that's August. Oh, here we go. Yeah, one of the things, Mary had me copy all emails. I put that in a separate folder labeled attorneys. I don't want to disclose any of my work product going. I don't want Dugan to even have these records. And they're going, oh, don't give those to Dugan. This is on the 7th. And I'm trying to basically blackmail them into firing her because I know that Dugan has gone sideways on them. And they have tried to cut Dugan. They're trying to back off. They don't want a thing to do with her. I tried to telephone you at your office and let you know this is about picking this stuff up. My intent is to come by your office on Monday around 1 o'clock and pick up all of the evidence in your office. Because of our scent, trying to do the production, because both Pete are badly swollen. If I get too swollen, it's akin to overinflating a tire. It does soft tissue damage that can take weeks or months to heal, and that lands me in a wheelchair for weeks or months. I'll be wearing both foot braces and can safely carry one load too. So I will call you when I get there. I'll park as close to the front door as possible. Could you and Drew help carry this stuff back to my RAV so I can take it home? And that was written on September 9th. They sent a copy of that to Dugan, and Dugan shows up on the 10th and takes all those documents and ships them off to Stroh Reeves. And
you've got documentation of that, because
I have documentation
you got a
of all
hold
of
of,
this.
who was it, FedEx or UPS that did that?
Yeah, and what's really interesting about that is that the FedEx document is really interesting. There it is. Dugan claims to have sent this stuff on the 11th to them. And there's nothing, in fact, Stroh Reeves claims to have gotten this stuff on the 11th. And that's just a bald-faced lie, because the actual records that I got from, and this is another one that the court denied getting subpoenaed data for. I got the paper records from Federal Express, and I spoke with the head of their audit division, their court division that handles subpoenas, and he gave me more than he should have, but he basically said that that Dugan had mailed what Dugan had claimed and Stroh Reeves had claimed is that they got a memory stick, and they denied that for months, but that they got a memory stick, and that memory stick was all they received, and that arrived on the 13th. But they claimed it was sent, they got it originally on the 11th. Well, there's nothing that's on the 11th. They did this on the 13th. And it shows that Dugan, even after she had been let go by the court on the 12th, ends up sending it to them by overnight Federal Express. And not only that, she has $1,000 of money that had been loaned to me to handle depositions, and she took all of her expenses out of that. It was solely for depositions. So she took $250 of that money so she could overnight my evidence illegally stolen to Stroh Reeves. And it was just bad. I'm trying to find a copy of that thing. It's really, when you see it, you'll just kind of go, oh dear.
So at this point, you know, your case had already been dismissed by Judge, Magistrate Judge.
Yeah, here it is. This is Dugan's statement right here. And that statement she says, according to her statement, Priority Federal Express thumb drive to Stroh Reeves, $53.84. And then I'm going, well, what the heck is going on here? And I get a hold of a receipt from, here it is, from Federal Express. And Federal Express said, yes, it was actually mailed at 3:18 p.m. from Springfield, Oregon, from their headquarters facility in Springfield, 3:18 p.m. on September 12th, not on the 11th, on the 12th, and that it arrives at 7:30 a.m. at Stroh Reeves' office on the 13th. And it's not a memory stick. It's a memory stick in a legal size envelope stuffed full of legal documents.
So they lied. What else would you expect from lawyers?
Of course they lied. And they filed a deposition. This is what's interesting. When I got wind of this, that they had done this, they filed a declaration, but there's no way else to put this except that they're such a chicken shit outfit that what they ended up doing is lying in the declaration by having. You should
re-say that, Mike, because I don't think we can put that on. If it goes on TV, we can't put that.
Okay, they're such a nasty outfit.
You can say chicken poop if you want.
No, they're just duplicitous.
Okay.
What they ended up doing is they didn't have the courage to file this declaration themselves. They had a paralegal file it, and the paralegal. Brown seems to be a really common name, but the paralegal says for the 13th, she says, on September 13th, 2017, Stroh Reeves received a letter from Miss Dugan enclosing another flash drive that contained additional electronic documents produced in response to the defendant's RFP. Many of these documents are duplicative of those previously produced. Now, what's really interesting is that thumb drive is the one that is suddenly floating around with the media today that has all of the key TAM evidence that was in Lehman & Johnson.
So you're saying the media has that?
Yes,
and
every bit of it.
And I think you've told me who that media person is. I won't repeat that.
No.
What was the paralegal's name? I think we need to make that public.
The paralegal's name was Julie Brown. Brown's
Julie
a common name.
Sure
Anna
is.
Brown, Julie Brown, Kate Brown.
Yeah, yeah, they're all family.
Maybe, except that I don't know anything about Julie Brown. I've never met her.
Yeah. Well, her name needs to be mentioned because she's in on this scheme.
Yeah,
Anybody with any integrity wouldn't do this kind of
declaration,
stuff.
And the thing that's really kind of interesting, and they play games with things. You have to parse everything. She says in the declaration, "I am a paralegal at Stroh Reeves LLP, counsel for defendant Agate Resources Inc. in the above captioned matter. I make this declaration, on my own personal knowledge, and I am competent to testify. I have been responsible for receiving and organizing the documents produced by plaintiff Michael T. Brooks and his former counsel. Well, I've never sent Stroh Reeves anything in my life, so except for legal documents. So she can't swear for a 200-person law firm, if somebody else didn't get it. And that's what she's doing. They're trying to pass off a declaration by one person as, they've got so many escape clauses in this thing, it's not funny.
Well, that's only because they can get away with it because our government's so corrupt here in Oregon. If we had a functioning state bar, we had a functioning, DOJ, we had a functioning, Secretary of State, and we had a functioning governor, we had functioning other bureaucracies, you wouldn't have to worry about this. You and I were taught in school how our government works. That's an illusion here. That's a facade here.
It's like on August 29th, 2017, Stroh Reeves received a letter from Miss Dugan enclosing a flash drive containing electronic documents. What those were my medical records. They went to Dugan because I was requesting accommodations under the Americans with Disabilities Act. They were x-rays of my feet, x-rays of my back, x-rays of and photographs of the feet. She sent them to Stroh Reeves. I finally got a copy of the you've seen the pictures of my feet, what they look like, where they're purple and swollen. The judge, Russo, makes fun of it.
What do you mean?
She made fun of it. She said, "Oh, he sent me pictures of his feet. What a pervert."
She said pervert?
Yeah, not just said pervert. She said sent pictures of his feet to me as if she's ridiculing it.
Instead of taking it as medical evidence of what's
Correct.
going on. Yeah. Obviously shows that, number one, is she's not a very empathetic person. Number two is she certainly has no medical background of what swollen
not
feet
only
mean.
that, she's also the one that blocked under Rule 73C. I'm supposed to be able to file a direct appeal to the to Ninth Circuit Court, which I attempted to do, and she blocked it.
Yeah,
And
she
not
sat on
only
it,
that-
didn't she? And what about the other judge that was out of where? Idaho, Utah? Where was he at? That one gentleman, the judge, the Ninth Circuit Court judge?
Oh, that's Sidney Thomas. He's out of Montana.
Montana.
What's
yeah.
really terrible is that one of the things that Russo did is the amongst the things that Dugan took is I had written it's about a 93-page document that was my own personal records, what my course strategy was. And one of the things that I had put in the header of that thing, it was written in pages. You've seen documents from me, and I don't, this is my first IBM PC in a long time.
Yeah, it's a Mac program.
Yeah, I use
Apple
Mac
program.
And what happened was I had written this thing and this court strategy document. Well, Dugan, because it had to have been Dugan unless it was Stroh-Reeves. One of the two of them stripped the header out, and the header says, "This is proprietary. It's evidence written by Michael Brooks and is for the eyes of his attorneys only." I can give you the actual writing if you're interested in it. We can read it to you. And it was converted to Word and sent to Stroh-Reeves, called Discovery.
So then Russo, I mean, what you were asking for basically from Russo at that point, and I don't even know how she.
Well, look, here's the problem. Discovery under Rule 26 is supposed to be very narrow. It's supposed to be evidence for this directly for a case. There's no way any judge in the world would have approved for discovery for as broad a stuff as they got.
Yeah. But what I'm saying
they
is
did with Dugan was do an end run around federal law to get Stroh-Reeves evidence that the state had been looking for, which agencies I was talking with, because the stuff that Dugan sent to Stroh-Reeves, that Stroh-Reeves gave to the state and to Agate, was my conversations with the and emails and mails with the SEC, with ABRISA, which is the Employee Benefits and Security Administration, handling employee records. That's why the sale of all of those employee records was really illegal. It's HIPAA violations. There is that, and there was I don't know, half a dozen other ones from the Department of Justice, and Dugan sent all of those things to them. The big one was the one from ABRISA, where they were actually investigating EHA, the Employers Health Alliance. Once Trillium got a hold of that, they shut them all down.
why haven't you sued Miss Dugan?
I don't have any money. She should be sued.
Okay.
Somebody should go after her and put her out of business entirely. She has no business practicing law. Anybody that hires her an attorney is out of their mind.
Well, maybe less of a chance now that this is going to come out. So again, you had your case dismissed by Michael McShane, the activist judge,
And it was illegal to do that, mind
right.
you.
But then you basically were
Cochise
asking for
Consultancy said,
you were asking for them to reconsider under the circumstances,
and the
and
Ninth
that was
Circuit
where
said
Russo.
no.
Well, Russo came in and she also dismissed it, didn't she?
Yep.
So the Ninth Circuit dismissed it, and she dismissed it.
No. What Russo ended up doing is not allowing it to be filed with the Ninth Circuit.
Ah, that's where the gentleman from Montana.
Yeah, she
comes into play.
completely blew it off. It's like it was not. And then when I tried to get Sidney Thomas to at least take a look at this illegally appointed judge and some of the crazy things she was doing, he refused to hear it. In fact, it's worse than that. Rather than treating it as a formal motion, which is what it was a judicial complaint, they didn't even tell me that he hadn't done anything with it for about 6 months. I found out when I called them.
Yeah. Wow.
The Ninth Circuit is like, this has so many problems with it that it's not funny. It's just, it goes on and on and on and on. And I think it's starting to dawn on us because I'm pro se. It's like what you're dealing with lawyers and courts is this kind of inbred system. And if you don't have a lawyer or you're not a lawyer, they don't take you seriously.
Well, it's
You're
more than
just
that,
a normal
Mike.
individual.
It's more than that. It's not just the fact that you're pro se. It's the fact that you're invading their turf. What they don't want is they don't want an educated populace that understands the law, understands the rules, and can argue for themselves. That would undermine their entire profession. Who would ever need a lawyer again if you could do that?
I don't understand the rules. It's like when I've got these documents that are just obvious, things like recordings, things like filings from the EEOC, and Stroh-Reeves turns around and files motion after motion. I mean, 700 pages of motions to expunge these things from the record. I'm going, what? I mean, that's insane. It's like, how can they do that? That would be like expunging photographs and the murder weapon and blood from a homicide trial.
Well,
and
it
that's
happens.
what this is, because these people died. They killed people. This isn't, everybody keeps thinking, oh, well, it's just a standard whistleblower case. No, it isn't.
It happens,
This was
Mike.
homicide.
There's a young woman. Well, she was about 35 years old. Her name was Tiffany Jenks, and she was murdered here in the Portland area, and it's all been covered up. Or how about the Frankie case down at the I think it was the state prison. He was murdered. They tried to blame it on some guy that was an inmate, and we know that that wasn't true. I mean, this is a dirty state. Let's be honest about it. This is probably the dirtiest state in the union. And they make up their own rules, and they make up the rules as they go along. And there is no justice in this state because they don't allow it. And they're not going to allow it unless there's a lot of public pressure. And what we have to hope for is that maybe the federal government will pull its head out sooner or later and understand they need to come down on this state hard.
There's got to be somebody honest. Like the system, it's got to support honest people. I mean, I want to think that maybe.
Well, they don't. They don't have to, but they're supposed to. And if they don't, they may have one heck of an insurrection on their hands, because the public, as we can see, whether we agree with Black Lives Matter and Antifa, etc., there's a whole segment of the population that's very upset. And people that run those organizations like Antifa and BLM, they may not, they may be nefarious individuals, but the people underneath them still believe, the people that show up at these protests, etc., they still believe that they're going to make a difference through their protests. And most of them aren't violent people. That's a small segment of them that are really, really violent. But, people are upset. And it isn't just those people. People that are patriots, constitutionalists, people that, just want to have a life that's, not burdened by the federal government, the state government. They're waking up. People are tired of it. You know it. I know it. We've both experienced it.
The whole thing is it's insane. There's so much.
So they shut everything down at the federal district court level, and then you sent a brief to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Is that where you're at right now?
Yeah, I'm appealing it. But what happened was I had heart surgery on January 31st.
Right.
And by the time I got out of, it's 7 hours on the operating table. By the time I got out, Strobies was basically flooding paperwork, because the courts, and I don't know how it works. I do know that supposedly they're covered by the Rehabilitation Act as well as the American with Disabilities Act. They've gotten letters from my doctors and from the surgeons saying, look, guy's sick. He has atrial fibrillation, and one of the big bad problems I've got is it's called bradycardia. And
slow heart rate, yeah.
Yeah, it'll slow down to 40 beats per minute and I pass out. And I have to take drugs for that, and if I don't do this stuff on a regular schedule and do everything just right, I'll pass out.
Well, that's from your cervical stuff, because it's causing problems with your vagus nerve.
Yeah, and the last time I did it, I crushed the computer and broke it and smashed my nose and my lip and everything up. You can see some of the scars.
Right. So at this point, where are things at the appeals court level?
Oh, here's a lovely one that you really want to look at. This is a record of 319 patients who had positive HIV test results. Trillium shouldn't even have had these results. They sold them.
Right, and we're going to go into more detail about that in the second half of our
like
interview.
I would love
because there's a
to
lot of stuff that's been sold, much more than
That's
HIV.
another one that Aiken sealed. It's like, these are people who can't get home loans, car loans. Some of them died. They couldn't get insurance. They lost their life insurance. They were hurt. And 319 of them. And that's just one record. We had dozens of these things.
Yeah. So again, where are things at this point in your appeals case?
I don't know.
They're just sitting on it right now?
Yeah, there's like, I can't even, my eyes are bad. and that's part of the problem I've got with from the stuff. I can't see well enough to do much anything. So it's like they're changing. So my glasses don't work quite right. They're really kind of fuzzy. So I use it without glasses and try to blow up the size of the screen so that I can kind of see the letters on it. And the problem is that the here's another one. This is another report. This one's 271 HIV records. There's and these people, these human beings who were hurt, need to know this, and it's like the general public needs to look. These are HIV patients.
Yeah.
Like
As I
everybody
said,
goes,
this
gay
involves
rights.
everybody. Whether you've got a disease, whether you're poor, if you're a taxpayer, you're all involved. Your children are involved. Your as you said, your credit ratings, your ability to get a job. All this is being affected by these people, and it's insidious and it's horrific, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it just goes on and on and on. It's like if you had a breast cancer test, they've got those records, and they're selling them. And what people don't realize is that they think, oh, well, it's not me. It's only patients of Trillium. Not true.
And it
They
is
have
you,
drug
whether you have a
records.
disease or not. You're paying taxes. Your money's being stolen from
No,
you.
it's worse than that. If you've had prescription drugs, if you've had a lab test, if you've got a diagnosis, Trillium's got it. If you live in Oregon, in fact, if you live in a neighboring state, or you do business with somebody like Providence or Legacy or Quest, they've got access to your records, and they're selling them.
Well,
You, personally,
yeah.
your records are probably gone.
Probably. Well, a couple of different things I want to mention. Number one is that when these lawyers from Stoll Reeves attack you, it's a it's a group of usually 3, sometimes more lawyers, obviously paralegals involved too. But they don't just send one document. They each send a document.
Yeah.
Individually.
They have 3
What's going on with that?
They have 3 different attorneys ready. Well, I asked for a court-appointed attorney because I'm poor as a church mouse. They turned it down. In fact, they were originally going to turn me down for proceeding in forma pauperis until I pointed out that the district court had allowed me to proceed in forma pauperis clear back in 2000 because I'm surviving on Social Security and I don't have enough money even for my prescription drugs, much less medical expenses, and things are getting worse. It's like my health is collapsing. And so what happened is when I applied to them to proceed in forma pauperis, they turned it down. And then I came back and I quoted federal law to them saying, look, according to federal law, if I've had in forma pauperis at the district court, you're required to cover it. And then they went, okay. And I'm going, what
Well,
about
thank God we
appointing-
have judges that went to law school.
And then I said, what about appointing an attorney? Because I can't do this on my own. I can't see. It's like, if I'm sitting here looking at that sign over there on the wall where it says, please no food in this suite, cover drinks over, it is fuzzy. I've blown up the print on the screen and I can't see it from this far back. That's why when I go to find something, I lean way forward like this and kind of look.
Right.
I can't, my eyes are bad. So when I get a document that's done in 12 or 14 point font, I can't read it. It's just a blur. And I got 700 pages of this stuff. I have a pile that high sitting on a desk that's unopened in envelopes from Stoll Reeves. It's that high.
Well, that's because, as I said,
They
they're each
send
sending
new
a bunch of
documents
junk.
with a rate-
Instead of one law firm sending one document, they each send individual ones with all kinds of different garbage in
It's
it.
worse than that. What the district court did is that this should have been one case. What they ended up doing is breaking it up into 4 different cases. Like Machine exceeded his ability to dismiss a whistleblower retaliation case by a long shot. And there's, what the heck am I supposed to do with that? He can't do it, but he did do it.
Yeah. He's owned. He's owned.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know
find it-
either, but my guesstimate
I
is
find it
that
hard to
all
believe,
these judges are
especially in light
owned.
of the fact of seeing these HIV tests. because he's gay. I want it known that I've always supported gay rights. In fact, when I was healthy in my youth, I was actually the marshal at those parades to help guard them from some of the local rednecks that were throwing things at them. And I don't want to believe that McShane could be that kind of a
Benedict Arnold.
yeah. I cannot
in many
imagine
ways.
it. But so you've got a gay judge that was hurt
Gay people.
by this outfit, and lots of his friends and neighbors that live in Lane County were hurt.
And they know nothing about it, but they're going to know now.
Yeah. Well, how are they going to know now? They're going to only know if the names are published, and how are the names going to get published. When you've got a judge like Aiken, who's got this thing locked down tight, how are we supposed to let these people know that they've been harmed? Same thing with these employees. It's not just Monaco. I've hit Monaco. It's Seneca. It's Peace Health, the hospital.
Yeah.
They were insured with them too. They had their records. I got those records being sold. In 2013, I had stuff from Freightliner. I had stuff from Conway. I had stuff from Intel. I had stuff from Nike. There are records floating around out there that you cannot imagine that these guys were peddling. Everybody in this state was hurt by these people, and somebody's got to pay for it. It's like, I had this on my workstation. I was told that what they did when they found out I had this on my workstation, from bowling, mind you, they went on a witch hunt trying to find it. They couldn't find them all, and then on Corgenic's orders, they wiped out the server farm and packed up their other records and shipped them back to, after they were completed the sale to Centene, back to St. Louis. Those records by law have to be there, or the government can shut down Centene. If I have access to those records, I can reduplicate everything I've got. I've got the queries still.
Yeah.
And I'd be happy to get them all. And it's like, these people need to be busted back to the Stone Age. They cannot do this. And they've done it. And Stroh Reeves, the problem is, they're repeating this stuff. They're up in Washington doing the exact same thing that they were busted for in Oregon by me. They've got patients without primary care doctors. They have patients that don't have specialists. They've got them run around in circles through a mill-like process. I happen to have the records here where they've been fined and secretly disciplined by the states. I've got them. I got them right here.
Yeah. No, Centene's been in a lot of trouble. All you have to do is look online.
A trillion.
That's Centene. Centene. Just look them up.
Copeland was actually fined by a person in the Oregon Insurance Division, a new head, for trying to extort money under the name of Agate Resources from a bunch of contractors, and the decision is absolutely fascinating, and that's another one that I'm going to find right now, because it's.
Well, why don't we save that for tomorrow, Mike? I think we're going to kind of wrap it up here right now because it's getting pretty late. But I think what this shows is that as a citizen and as part of the population of this country, that it's just like it was for HIV. We didn't want to criminalize it or make it seem like it was in a negative light, because then it would prevent people from coming and getting help, and then the disease would spread further. So at this point, with people knowing that their medical information is being sold, it makes you reluctant to go to the doctor. It certainly makes you reluctant to go and complain about anything that's psychiatric in nature, depression, paranoia, etc. Because if that stuff gets out there, your life is ruined at many different levels. Even though our society is supposedly more accepting of things like depression and schizophrenia and bipolar disease, the companies aren't, because they see you as a liability. The insurance people, the credit unions, or the creditors, etc. They all see you as a liability. And as you say, that destroys your ability to function within this society. It's basically like a social credit score, to some degree, like China has, which we're moving closer and closer to as time goes by. But a social credit score, where if you're the wrong person or you hang out with the wrong people, etc., that's going to affect you long term.
Yeah. Here's more things. I mean, we can't cover them all, but this right here from the Oregon Employment Department after I was fired, here they're requesting an I-9 form. I'm fired, and the only reason legally you can request an I-9 form is as an employer. The Oregon Employment Department is requesting an I-9 form on behalf of Tony Corcoran.
The guy that was in the two-person tribunal
That's
that
right.
Reversed the
And
ALJ's
we're
decision.
requesting a federal I-9 form, wanting to know every place I've lived and worked.
Now, why would Tony Corcoran be doing that? Anthony Tony Corcoran.
Well, if you take a look at who it's on behalf of, it appears to be Stroh Reeves.
So, why would Tony still be requesting this?
I don't know. Well, I do know, but he's doing it to help Stroh Reeves. It's like everybody. It's like if you were looking at the spider at the center of the web, it is Stroh Reeves. Stroh Reeves has done so much wrong. It's just, I don't know. It
Okay,
doesn't-
Mike. Let's call this a day here.
Here's a cease and desist order that I wanted you to know about before we go. This is the Insurance Commission IN 15-12-003. And this one it says, finds that the Trillium Community Health Plan, Trillium, is an Oregon corporation formed on February 14, 2006, which is interesting. Trillium's last known address, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, they're sitting around collecting stuff from, it's a risk payment. And the guy who got it was Patrick Allen, the director of Consumer and Business Services.
Yeah, we're going to talk about him in detail tomorrow.
Copeland ends up signing off and admitting guilt on the 2nd of February 2016 and is fined $10,000. Health.net does virtually the same thing.
Yeah, they're part of Centene.
And yes, they're fined $120,000. It's really, Agate owns 40% of Trillium, and this is not true anymore. So they're listing stuff. They keep changing things around. This is in 2016. If you go back to 2015, the same division files another thing saying that Trillium is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Centene Corporation.
Okay. Well, hey, that's going to be it for today.